Good morning, everybody. Corie here. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I believe today's April 28th. This weekend, I scattered my videos for Friday and the weekly videos throughout the weekend as I had family things going on. My mom, Friday I ended up having to go to the doctor at the last minute for my foot because my mom was coming up, and 26-mile long yard sale for Highway 86, and decided I should probably see somebody. Of course, that made it worse and didn't make for a great weekend, but that's what I did this weekend mostly. And my neighbors came over and dug me up or tilled me up a spot to make a garden. So now I have to figure that out. And it's an old-fashioned garden, right? I've had a raised bed garden in Tennessee, but this one's a little different. I've decided what I want to do with it, but I don't have a metal cut and circular saw blade, so I'm going to have to go there after work today, or go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get me one of those. And then I need some cedar planks, and then we will see how it comes out. I like being able to grow things. The first time I did it, I was surprised because I always kill everything, and honestly, if we go on vacation, that's probably what's going to happen unless I ask my neighbors to water them. But anyway, yeah, I probably don't care about any of that stuff. To be honest with you, last night I could have sworn I had something that I was going to talk about to give me a topic, so I'm not just totally rambling here with everything. And I feel like it was investing related, because I'm sure y'all don't care too much about my personal stuff, but this morning I have no clue what it was. None. And I did go through the messages last night to see, or not the messages, but the post on YouTube, to see any ideas that y'all might have. There weren't a lot out there. I know there was at least one, and maybe I'm not going to talk on that topic this morning. Man, I didn't even look. I have notifications popping up on my phone. I didn't even look to see what the market looked like this morning. That is so unlike me, but I was trying to hurry up and get to work, get out to get to work, so I wasn't there so late. But anyway, so I have no clue. So this morning, I just thought that maybe I would go a little bit into my background, talk a little bit about the military, about the Army specifically, right? I don't know. Some of you may or may not be interested in that, and I understand, and I guess I should have said that right up front so y'all would know what the topic would be if you wanted to continue listening or not. Man, those are beautiful irises. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to talk about this morning. And sort of how, I got to the Army and my thoughts on that. I know I have people ask me sometimes. It's been a long time since people ask me why I joined the Army. But I have some people that will come up to me and ask me questions. I've had somebody at my class reunion ask me questions because her daughter was thinking about it. And so I thought I would just talk about it a little bit this morning. So let's see. You know what? I'll give you a little bit more background into that, into how much do I want to, how personal do I want to be with y'all. I guess I should have thought of about that beforehand. I didn't think about how far I was going to go back. Let's start when I was, I guess, younger in school. I remember mentioning the military once, but I remember thinking about it, but that was about it. And I don't know. I didn't really, and I told you the last video, if you've watched it, about how I got here, that I was told I should be an accountant. So that's what I thought I would do. Of course, I was poor, never thought I'd be able to go to college or or anything like that. And not saying you have to go to college, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. But my mom married my stepdad, squirrel, and he ran his own construction, business stuff. And this was probably when I was around, I don't know, 14, maybe 15. I'm not really sure. And so, on the weekends and stuff, I would go work with him doing construction. That was probably not till 15 that I started doing that. And I guess I have no choice but to tell y'all. I ended up, when I was 16, my mom and stepdad decided to move to College Grove, Tennessee. So we moved, they moved. They asked me, gave me options on what I wanted to do. I stayed in Tennessee in Lewisburg, which is where I'm from. I stayed there with my brother to finish out the school year, or not the school year, but that half of the school year. And then after that, I moved to College Grove with my mom and them, and I was homeschooled from there on out. So that would have been that would have been the middle of my sophomore year, I believe. I don't even know. It was, I know I'd finished freshman year. I think it was the middle of my sophomore year. I don't know. It could have been my junior year. I guess, yeah, I'm not even gonna, because I'll be here all day trying to figure that out. Yeah, I was 17. Okay, so I was 17 when I moved there, and I got sorry, let me think about this. Anyway, but no, I'm just going to tell you. Okay, I was pregnant. I got pregnant, young, dumb, stupid, with my first daughter, which is the one that's graduating with her bachelor's degree this Friday. Friday. Sorry, I have two kids graduating college this weekend, so I don't remember which one is which. But anyway, I got pregnant with her also, so it just so happened. Of course, later, that's, how kids are and rumors start. I left school because I was pregnant, and that wasn't the case. So anyway, I moved there, I homeschooled, but then I started working during the day full-time with my parents, my stepdad and my mom's construction company. And that was 17. I started 16, but I didn't really work full-time until I moved up there and wasn't in regular school all day long. So then I worked construction for a few years there. And when I say construction, we did construction cleanup, and then we also did trim work and punch work and warranty work and stuff like that. So, I was younger. I worked construction cleanup. Of course, I say I worked it. I did do trim and stuff too, because he eventually, he started teaching me. And so I did do that. I remember I was doing trim work after my daughter was born. So I know it was sometime once I was 16. But while I was pregnant, after a while, my stepdad, really loved me. Sorry. But he didn't want me to get hurt. So then my job was just to supervise all the guys. And that's what you want, right? As a guy, as a grown-up man working construction cleanup, picking up trash and bricks and blocks and all that stuff, is to be supervised by a 17 or 18-year-old girl. But that's what I did. I will say, I didn't always listen, because I'm just not one of those. I can't stand there and just watch. So then I had to be helping pick up stuff, or I'd run the Bobcat or whatever else, and I got caught a few times. My stepdad, he was really mad at me. In fact, one time there were tornadoes had come through Franklin, Tennessee, and we were working at a subdivision. I think it was Heartland subdivision. And it was, so that wasn't Franklin, sorry. That was right outside of Spring Hill in Columbia. And one of the new build houses, the framing for the roof, the 2x4s and trusses and everything were still there, but the actual plywood was not on the top of it yet. And the tornado part just basically just took the top of it and just set it up, on the ground on the side. And so anyway, we were cutting that up, and I got knocked over by one of them, and I don't know how pregnant I was at that time. And he about had a fit. I had another time too that I got hurt, and I know now I'm getting off topic, way off topic. I was in Hermitage. No, I get all these places. It wasn't Hermitage or Donaldson. Antioch, that's it. We were in Antioch in a subdivision up there, and I have no clue why. I don't know what happened, but I was at this house, and this was a place that had modular homes. I can't remember the name of the subdivision. But anyway, I was running from this house to this house, and it was a little bit of a hill, and somehow I tripped and I slid down the hill, and I remember him coming and running to me. Is the baby okay? Is the baby okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I did have some scratches from that. But yeah, anyway, so I work construction. And then at some point, at least over the age of 18, I went to a club. I don't remember, I was trying to remember what the club was this morning in Nashville. And I remember it had like 4 different clubs in one. It was off Harding Place, and one of them inside of it was called Neptune, and I think that was the techno part. You had like techno and country and hip hop and something else. But anyway, I met a soldier there. I was there with a group of soldiers, and we got to talking and everything, and I got his number, but we was talking about the Army, and he would, all the things he gets to do, and he gets to travel, and he gets to do stuff, and gets trained, and just, I remember seeing it seeming to be extremely awesome, what he was telling me. Of course, I find out later that he is a Army recruiter, and I actually ended up joining the Army probably not too long after that. I signed my contract. I don't know what I was thinking. I did the thing by myself before my 19th birthday. I just went and did it. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't do anything. And I did have my daughter at the time. So yeah, I just went and joined the Army, and which was not great for my parents' construction company, not having me there to help do things. My brother was there. I don't know, he was in and out, so I'm not sure if he was there at that time or not too, but anyway, because we ran a couple of different crews as far as cleaning, and then of course we had all the trim work and everything else. But I remember he did more of the punch work and warranty work, and he still does that kind of stuff to today. But anyway, I joined the Army. I signed my contract in November of 2000. So, what's this year? 24. So I've been in the Army for 23 years. I signed up to go active duty, and I left on January 3rd in 2001 to go to basic training. Of course, I joined the Army to become an accounting specialist, which I'd already mentioned before. And they tried to get me to become a petroleum specialist because it was going to offer a $20,000 bonus. And, you would think at 18, I'm like, yeah, I want the money. But no, I really wanted to be, do accounting stuff, or what I thought what normal accounting stuff would be, right? Of course, we know government works different. Government books are different. But then, did basic training. I went to AIT. Some of you may know what this means, but I became Distinguished Honor Graduate, which means I had the highest scores in my entire class, grade work. PT had, the required scores and whatever else that went along with that, height, weight, all those kinds of things. And so I became Distinguished Honor Graduate. And then 3 people in my class went to Fort Hood, Texas. And out of the 3 of us, 2 of us went into a finance MOS or job, and we had 1 that actually went into an accounting position. So I will say that, I never did accounting, not real accounting, I guess, once I left AIT. I left basic, I got to Fort Hood the first, it was like the last couple of days of the month of May, or the first couple of June or something. I don't remember which exactly. I'm not going to get very far in my Army story, am I? And my first weekend at Fort Hood, Texas, which was in June of 2001, I found out I was pregnant again. So, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure they still do, I know they still do this today, or at least they did a year ago, when I was in a briefing. But it's a hometown recruiting thing where you can, once you finish your schooling, you can go back to your hometown for 2 weeks, and you can work with a, sorry, I didn't realize I probably just made it worse. You can work with a recruiter. So I came home for 2 weeks, and I went, to ball games and everything else. You basically just go out there and you share your story. You talk to people and everything else. So I did that. Of course, I didn't talk about this, but I did end up, not my husband, but my baby's daddy, we did end up breaking up, and we were not together when I went to basic and AIT, which was like 4.5 months long. Of course, I came home. He was living with my mom again, with our daughter, and because they helped take care of her. And needless to say, we ended up pregnant again. And so I told him right before my daughter's next birthday that I was coming home and we were going to get married. And he said, okay. And then I told him I was pregnant again. And so I came home. We got married the day before my oldest's birthday. I guess she would be 2 at that time. And we went back to Texas. And what I didn't, as a stupid kid, we didn't have conversations, and I thought we were married and that he would come with me. And when I mean come with me, like come out there and stay and live with me, him and our daughter. And the fact that I was pregnant and we got married, and that was not the case. He was not going to leave Tennessee. So, he came out there, he stayed for a few days, and then I think his daddy came and got him because he had drove down with me. Again, as a stupid kid, and yes, I know I was 19, but as a stupid kid, I found out, I don't know, you have to have pregnancy counseling and stuff, and I don't know if that's when I found out or what, to be honest with you. But I found out that I could get discharged from the Army for pregnancy. And this was very hard for me because I had just went through, what I felt as, as a kid and not experienced those types of things, I'd went through something hard and gotten somewhere, right? Or felt like I got somewhere. Which at the time I was only a PV2, so I joined the Army as a private, which is a PV1, or is a, yeah, PV1, sorry, E1. And because I was Distinguished Honor Graduate at AIT, they promoted me to E2. Because there were people in my class that were like a specialist because they came in with a master's degree. I mean, that was crazy back then. But yeah, but that was, I think that was the only thing that they could do for me or whatever. So I got that. But anyway, I made that hard decision to get out. And after I worked so hard to try to make something of myself. And during the counseling, you have to have retention counseling when you get out of the Army. And they told me that I could join the reserves or the National Guard. And so we had a discussion about it. And, yep, before I left that office, I signed a contract to join the Army Reserves. I know some of y'all just know what the National Guard is. But the National Guard, you're within the state, so you work for the state, right? And then for the Army Reserves, we're federal, so we work, obviously for the federal government versus the state government. So, and I was told it was harder to get promoted in the National Guard, and they always joke that somebody either has to retire or die if you want to be promoted. And that was said to me also, at the recruiter's office. So I joined the Army Reserve, though at the time I had never heard of it myself. So then comes along 9/11. And I remember we were all sitting in our office, in the finance office. I was under the 3rd Corps. I think it was 215th Finance Battalion. And we were sitting there just like normal, I was sitting at my desk, and of course I'm pregnant at this time, several months pregnant, and I got a phone call from my father-in-law asking if I heard, and I was like, heard what? And he was like, a plane just hit the Twin Towers, and I was like, what's the Twin Towers? And yeah, that's how my office found out. And yeah, so we turned on the radio. There was a radio there in the office, and everybody stopped and listened. PAC clerks coming in to bring in their finance documents, and we just did nothing. We were all just standing around the radio, listening to what was happening. Eventually, we were all sent home to get gear together because, they started talking about Fort Hood was the largest base, and if they were going to hit any bases, that Fort Hood would be the base. So they sent everybody to get their gear and everything, and they sent me to get a weapon, and I sat outside our office, finance office, in a chair with a weapon. Because, there's, I don't recall getting any gear or anything. I think I went straight outside. I could be wrong. I don't really remember. I just remember the weapon part. I thought that was going to stop my discharge packet because, then eventually I know stop losses happened, making it so you can't leave. I don't know if that did happen, and it didn't apply to me because I was pregnant. I really don't remember. But I did end up getting to leave and come home in October and taking my leave, the rest of my leave. And at the end of October, I was in the Army Reserves. So I was in the 2145th Garrison Support Unit out of Nashville, and I was there for many years. So that started my Army Reserve journey. And so I wasn't even active duty a full year. And then the rest of my time has been in the Army Reserve, like I said. So when I came to the Army Reserve, I was still a PV2, and I'm pretty sure, like, the first drill, I was already asking about getting getting advanced. You're not promoted as from E1 to E4, those ranks. So I'd asked about getting advanced, and I think that's because when I was in the office, either they asked me or it was on the wall, and I was like, hey, I have this time, and actually I know it was First Battle Assembly because it was effective that weekend, which was in November, and I didn't get to the reserves till the end of October. And then I learned about that administrative type stuff. So then every time I fell within that sort of secondary window or with the waiver, I'd be like, I was asking, right? And then eventually, I was in a finance MOS position there. Eventually, somehow, I think the 81st RD or RSC back in the day, Regional Support Command, and it was in Birmingham, Alabama. They had a couple of people there in the finance that came down to do SRPs and different things, but somehow I guess I helped them during that. I don't really remember at this time, and they asked me if I would come out and help them do things because all these deployments were happening and they were having to do SRPs for everything, and I was pregnant actually, which reminds me that was an SRP for our unit because our unit was mobilizing to Fort Benning, Georgia, but I was pregnant, so I wasn't allowed to go. Of course, I could have gone down there instead of the computer and do admin stuff. Of course, then I guess that would cost the government funding for having to pay for my delivery and my child and be off of work and everything else. So, so anyway, I started doing those types of things. I started learning a lot more. I started traveling TDY. I did a lot of that in my career. The CSM got involved. He's actually the one that got me promoted to E5 and E6 with that same unit. I went back and forth. And I was at E6 for a very long time because you have to have not only time and grade but years in service. Then I became an E7, and I was at E7 for a very long time. I was actually promoted, and once you get it higher in the ranks, you have to, I'm going to be at work soon. Once you get higher in rank, you have to travel more for positions. It's hard to get positions. Of course, Nashville was already a lot for me. I was on the weekends, Battle Assembly weekends. It would only been like an hour to, I don't know. I was on Donaldson Pike, and then they moved to Bell Road, and then I took jobs over in White Bridge. Eventually, I actually became a civilian for the military. Sorry again, my ID. I became a civilian for the military because, again, my working and everything else. Actually, I guess I skipped quite a bit of time there because eventually I was still at E4 before I got promoted. Obviously E5, right? Because you had to be at E4 before 5. But Battle Assembly weekend, there's not many of us back there. I did the admin stuff and the pay and everything else, and we went to do pay for the weekend, and I was not in the system. Went and did some digging with some orders and everything, and turned out I had been cross-leveled to another unit for deployment. Found those orders in the system. Nobody had contacted me at that point. This was December Battle Assembly. Probably on my birthday, because it always seems to be, a lot of the time it seems to be on my birthday. But so we got a phone number, we made some calls, and they were like, can you be here in 2 days? And I'm like, no, I can't, and they gave me a little bit of time. I'm here with 2 kids at this point. My daughter was, I don't even know, maybe 7 months old, maybe 8 months old. My baby. And, I remember it was crazy. I had to be down there like a couple of days before Christmas or something. And then I think we got to go back home for Christmas. So it was like, what was the point? But I was cross-leveled means I was transferred to another unit. I went to Tallahassee, Florida, where the unit was, which was the 160th MP Battalion. So military police unit. And I was cross-leveled in as admin, of course. I mean, I worked on a computer, so that's admin, but not the job that admin really was. Because I just, the month before, finished, I'd reclassed to 42 Lima, learning admin stuff. And, yeah. And so then I got picked up for Mo, but with that MOS. So anyway, that happened, and then of course we went to Iraq on January 3rd, which was just ironic because that was the day I also joined the military. And I went to Iraq, and I was back home in November of the same year. So that was in 2004. Thank you. You too. Sorry about that. So I did have the promotion board did happen before then. I guess it was in November. So once we were in Iraq, at some point, it was months later, I was pinned for promotion, received my E5 promotion at that time. And it was backdated to November when that promotion board happened. Things happen and things get scattered during deployments and moving units and everything else. So it was just delayed. But I got back pay for that. For those of you that don't know how that works. Let me see. What I was doing wasn't classified or anything. Hell, I didn't even have a MOS. I didn't even have a security clearance at that time. But I'm just thinking. So I went to Camp Bucca, Iraq, which was Camp Bucca was actually named after a firefighter. I think he died in 9/11. Obviously, the last name Bucca. And so I was there. It was an internment facility, which you can't call it a prison or anything, or a jail, or whatever you want to call it, because they, at the time, well, I don't even know if it ever actually happened, but war was never truly declared, even though we called it the war on terrorism. We weren't technically at war. So that's why it was an internment facility, and that's why we didn't have POWs, because again, that's prisoner of war. We weren't in war. So we had EPWs, enemy prisoner of war. But it's been 20 years. I don't remember what we called them off the top of my head. It'll come to me later. But anyway, so and most of you heard the stories and seen the stories in Baghdad with things that happened up there right before we went up there, deployed to prisoners. That was sad and very uncalled for to treat any human like that, but that did end up happening. I was never there. I did try to go to Baghdad to pick up to pick up the detainees. There we go. They were detainees. We detained them.